I mean, my history lessons would have been much more exciting if Wakanda was actually a real place. I would have listened. But you both play some amazing roles. How did you prepare for this film, knowing that there was a hype behind it and the reputation it had?
Well, when I signed on to this film, I wasn't familiar with the comic book. I'd heard that Chadwick Boseman was cast to play the Black Panther a few years before, and so when they approached me to play Nakia, of course I had to crash course, learn everything I can about the Black Panther, and I knew that there was enthusiasm for the film because I knew about Chadwick playing the Black Panther. Yeah. But you can't focus on that. What you have to focus on is your role, because you have to deafen your ears to the expectation, to the pressure, to all that, and just focus on the work. Otherwise, you get distracted and derailed, and then those are things you can't control, right? So you just focus on the thing you can. But it was just such an exciting role to play in an exciting film with a phenomenal director, and what he wanted to do in this story was just so radical, so fresh. I had never heard of anything like this. I certainly have never seen a superhero film this deep, this rich in terms of its cultural, political, and social relevance. I mean, what?
Yeah. And an African superhero.
And it is
that's
an
not
African
something
superhero.
that's ever on
Jeez,
TV.
it was just so good to just as a concept, and then it's lived up to it and in such incredible ways, and it's sparking such interesting conversation. So my joy and the focus was worth it, and yeah. That's all. Perfect. That's what I.
And Denai, I know you had to shave your head for the role. How was that? The feelings behind it? I know you obviously will have been told, but how was it actually having to do it for the role?
I mean, it was in theory it was fine. I wanted that imagery. I loved the idea of it. I loved the idea of having this group of women who are very feminine and very fierce, and it's with bald heads that they are those two things. So I loved, I knew he was pulling from Ta-Nehisi's renditions of the Dora Milaje in the most recent comic book version of Black Panther with the tattoos, though ours were specifically different, but it was the same idea. So in theory, it made absolute sense, and I was totally for it. I mean, there was the actual enactment of it wasn't entirely something you run to do, so it wasn't the funnest thing to actually do initially, and it was shocking to actually get that bald
and cold.
Yeah, it was cold. It was cold, and that was another thing. But ultimately, all of us started, all of my Dora Milaje started coming in with their bald heads after me, and so it became a solidarity around it and something kind of really cool about it. We started to rock it and really enjoy it, and then the weekends, there's so many ways you play with other components of your femininity and allow that to just be that.
And both being African women, were you able to bring your own lived interpretations to the film? Was the scope for you to do that?
Well, I think we both feel we want authentic African stories told. That's the most important thing, which always involves, for every character, it always involves transformation. So you have to, it was a beautiful thing to be able to delve into specific women. I'm far less traditional than Okoye, for instance, but I understood her perspective because Wakanda is so special, so you want to retain its specialness, and that is what you've been trained to do and what you believe in. But at the same time, she's not an African, so she's not an African woman like me in that regard. But she's also, we don't speak Xhosa, neither of us. My language is vaguely in the same language group, Shona, but nowhere near, quite honestly. And so learning Xhosa and learning how to speak in accents that one would speak in English if they spoke Xhosa as their mother tongue was a process of really understanding the world from, how they see it and how they've lived it. And so that was a joy, actually, because it's celebrating the specificity of all the variant, distinct ways one can be African.